Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Department Podcast, the wrestling recap version, where myself, Stephen Clark, and Jesse Norman are here to break down and give our honest review and reaction to Elimination Chamber 2021. It was okay. Wasn't the best pay-per-view coming from me. Wasn't the worst pay-per-view. It was average to me. It's what you get. It's what you get nowadays. It's not going to be as good as TakeOver last week. But Jesse, how are you doing before we give our reactions on this?
I'm doing pretty good, can't complain too much.
Good.
Pretty rainy.
Yeah,
but
it's not fun. It's not
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, not nasty weather out there. We can't decide between rain or snow. It's a mixture of just wintry mix, and it's horrible.
I'd rather rain than snow.
Oh, so would I.
This point.
Can't shovel rain, which is why I like rain. So I'll take as much rain as possible. But no, Elimination Chamber. What are your thoughts on this show?
Meh.
Pretty meh.
It was fine, I guess. I had a problem. They didn't showcase women in this at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
They did the Jax Baszler match with Sasha and Bianca, and it was probably the worst match on the card. Not that there was many matches on the card.
No, yeah.
But we'll hit on all the topics, but just pretty meh.
I agree, very meh. But before we get into that, I have to bring up our predictions thing and how we did. Justin isn't here, so we can't bash on his stupid picks, but we can talk about our picks and how we had the same picks again, both of us. So, and we actually both won again. So now the standings stand as you have 3 points because you actually won all 3 pay-per-views so far, technically. I have 2. Justin still has a big fat 0. So this race looks like we're kind of starting to run away a little bit as Justin keeps at 0 in total point standings. You have 15 total points. I have 13. Justin has 7. But it's very close, and we'll do the ratings and all that at the end of the show. Justin already sent me his ratings about like when he texted the group chat that he couldn't do this because he has to work or something. I read it quickly, but I think he has to stay there for work and also has to shovel his driveway. So that's why he's not here, and it's just us two. But enough of me babbling about that. Let's get into the card. And as expected, we started off with an Elimination Chamber. There's 2 chambers on the card. You got to space them out somehow. And they start off with the SmackDown one, which isn't for the title, which makes sense. Have the one that's for the title in the main event. So they did that, and they had the SmackDown Chamber, which was the number 1 contender for Roman Reigns' match. So it set it up to be, okay, they can challenge Roman later in the night, whatever, all that stuff. Okay, cool. So it was good. I thought this match was good. What wasn't too flashy, wasn't too extreme. Good wrestling. Daniel Bryan, Cesaro put on a show for me. Jey Uso did very well. Owens getting his arm caught was a fun little elimination. Baron and Sammy didn't do too much, but I thought it was okay. How'd you feel about this first chamber match?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I mean, that was my overall takeaway. I thought Cesaro was fantastic in it.
Yeah.
I thought Bryan was pretty good too. I'm glad that they got Corbin out pretty early because honestly, come on.
Yeah.
They had him in there. He dominated for what felt like forever.
Yeah.
And then they took him out, luckily.
Yeah.
One thing, and I'll bring it up later on too in the other chamber match, the camera work for these were not good.
No.
They were not on par with where they have been before. You would miss so much, and they would not stop excessively cutting just to end up giving you like the same angle of the shot. There would be like impact moves, and they would be cutting 3 different times in the span of them doing one transition move. It was
the headache for us.
Really bad. It got better as it went on, but It was, especially through this first chamber, it was very lackluster.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. I saw that once you actually pointed it out, because then I noticed, oh my god, like you said, like the quick cuts, the very very quick cuts, like all from the same angle almost.
They wouldn't stop cutting.
Yeah, and
they just would not stop cutting.
And we've been in that environment before because that's what our major consists of. Your broadcast journalism on media production, so we kind of have a feel for that stuff, and we're kind of more knowledged in that area than an average fan would be. So just seeing that is just it was hard to like focus on the match when that's happening.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it until I was watching with my girlfriend, and she pointed out, she was like, I don't know what just happened. Like, what was that move? She's like, they switched the camera angle 3 different times. I can't tell what the move actually was supposed to do there.
I feel like they missed a lot of moves too. Like they were like late to get to the seat.
Well, and then they would show replays, but the replays you could only show are what you already had live.
Yeah.
So they'd be showing these replays of moves. It's like, I still can't see that because the angle, it's not the fact that like you hit it too late or anything. It's the angle. It's like, I can't see what's going on here.
No, you're 100% right. But back to the match. It was just, it didn't feel like a big fight feel because you just knew what was going to happen later in the night. It was like, okay, the winner of this, I'm glad Brian won and Brian got an opportunity, but it just didn't like make me like excited for this match in a way. Like, I'm happy for him. I wanted Cesaro, but what are you going to do? But Brian won the match. At the end of the day, Daniel Bryan won this match, so good for him. The chamber starts to lift. Once I see that chamber lifting, I know something's about to go down. And then Roman's music hits. Roman comes out, and he basically just almost was in a submission for a little while. He challenged him right then and there. But then Brian put up a little bit of a fight, but just couldn't do anything, and the match was over within a couple minutes. And that's it. Just like that, and Roman won the match. But I think the biggest talking point of all this is what happened after this match, which was then Edge coming out, spearing Reigns, pointing at the WrestleMania sign, making his decision clear that we are getting Reigns versus Edge for the Universal title at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean that was a good way to end it. My only thing is I don't want Edge to lose at Mania, but also I don't want Roman to lose at Mania. So it's tough.
That's going to be a very, very tough one because, like you said, Edge is on this amazing comeback tour ever since he won number 1 at the Rumble a month ago. Roman's been on the tear of his life since SummerSlam, basically. It's like 2 guys who are like really, really hot right now. Like, I guess none of them can really afford a loss in a way. Like, it doesn't hurt them too much.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because they really have been doing this whole comeback tour with Edge, but Roman's literally just been tearing through the whole roster.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, tearing through the roster. Unless interference or something, somebody helped somebody win. Or I don't know. I really just don't. Rock helps Roman win. Maybe I can see that. Otherwise, I don't. They need something big if they're to have an interference for this match at WrestleMania. Because otherwise, I think Edge is the pick to win, just because it makes more sense in a way. It just does. The whole comeback tour just completes it full circle now. He won the title finally, and there's rumors that he's going to be bringing back the.
Well, and I mean, he would be beating. He would be beating what the most dominant champion that I can think of. I mean, Brock was dominant, but Brock wasn't showing up every week. Like, we know how dominant Roman is, and he reminds every single pay-per-view how dominant he is.
I haven't seen like a world
so I mean, that
champion.
would be good.
What? What would be good?
I mean, it would like, it's a good story for Edge to like take out Roman as like he's the king of the mountain, everything. But I don't know, it didn't feel like we were building to that, which is fine because, you know, we're still a couple months from WrestleMania, so maybe they'll make it feel like that. I just felt like, you know, Roman's story never felt like it was gonna overlap with Edge's, and now it is. So I think they have to kind of build around that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I see that too. But like you just said, we're about a month and a half, couple months away from Mania, so there's still a lot of time to
Yeah.
build this story and get an actual story about this. Just
Roman's
instead of
also said everybody, all these young guys want a shot at Edge, you know? How many, we don't know how long Edge is going to be around per se. You know, he's on a full-time deal, but he could realistically only, he's on borrowed time. He
yeah,
already retired once. He's back for his victory lap. He might only have, one more year in him. So you need to hit all the big matches. You need to hit the Edge Roman. You need to probably do Edge Seth. You got to do maybe Edge and Drew and Edge AJ. Like all of those, you got to hit those while you can.
yeah, you have to. And you just mentioned the big one, which was Edge and Seth, which I know Roman has been doing really, really good job with this Universal title. Phenomenal job. But I think this match would have been so good if Seth Rollins was the champion at this time, just because of the whole thing of Rollins stepping on Edge's neck and trying to kill him a couple of years ago and all that stuff. Just that would have became
Mm-hmm.
full story. And I know you can't really just give Seth the title out of nowhere because he just came back at the Rumble too, but I just think that would have been a better WrestleMania match if even if Rollins just won the WWE title or something on Raw and Edge challenged him there. That would have been awesome, I think, because it's very hard to predict the Roman and Edge one. But congrats to Edge, Roman, Bryan, all put on a great show in that opening match. And we're to get to the United States title match. Earlier in the night, it was announced that Keith Lee had to step out of the match. They said because of injury, but I'm pretty sure it's because of COVID because his fiance Mia Yim had COVID. But I don't want to start any rumors because I don't know for sure why he was out. But they had to have a fatal four-way on the kickoff show, which consisted of Ricochet, Elias, John Morrison, and Mustafa Ali. And Morrison won that match shockingly out of all the young guys in that ring. They gave it to the old one, but that's what they're used to doing in WWE. And Morrison inserted himself in the match. So triple threat match was Riddle, Bobby Lashley defending his title, and John Morrison. And Riddle walks out the champ, surprisingly, if you ask me, right?
Yeah, I mean, we know why later on kind of sets up a whole thing. And I think they did that very well. Yeah, good for Riddle. It makes sense. He didn't pin Lashley. Lashley never got pinned for his US belt.
Yeah.
Cool for Riddle. I mean, he's been kind of doing nothing since he got onto the main card. They teased a lot of stuff with him, but this is the first time they've actually given him something. So hopefully he doesn't fade into the United States abyss um,
Yeah.
that it was here and there. I think Lashley did a pretty good job with the belt, all things considered. But we know over the past couple years, the U.S. belt has historically been, the most underappreciated. Shinsuke had a whole run where he like didn't defend the belt for like literally 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully they didn't just do this to get the belt off Lashley to give him something else to do. Hopefully this moves Lashley while also still having a good fighting champion who you can put on pay-per-views.
Yeah, I agree. And we're to talk about Bobby Lashley a lot later, not a lot later, a little bit later in this podcast because he has a big part of the main event that he got involved with. But no, I'm a fan of Riddle having the U.S. title. Like you said, exactly. He didn't do much since coming up to the main roster. I just wanted to know if this would have been the same result if Keith Lee was in the match. If Keith Lee maybe would have won the title instead of Riddle. But I'm okay with Riddle still winning because I think they just added the Morrison in there just to someone to get pinned. I think Riddle might have been the one to get pinned in this match by Keith Lee, if anything, because they weren't really doing anything with Riddle. Riddle wasn't really a part of the storyline as much as Keith Lee was with the Hurt Business. But hey, I'm not complaining. I'm very happy about this. A guy from NXT getting a mid card championship within a couple months of getting up, not too long, but still was up there long enough to earn a title. So that's great. I just hope he continues success of the main roster and doesn't just fade to black, pun intended. Um, all right, let's
Nice.
yeah, let's move on throughout the show. We're flying through the show. There's not much to talk about, but like you brought up the women and how they weren't showcased much on this show, and we have to talk about the women's tag team title match. There's not much to talk about except for the fact that Nia and Shayna retained against a very talented and beautiful tag team in Bianca and Sasha Banks. But we saw this coming. Me and you both saw this coming. They have their NXT match scheduled for this week or next week, and it was a waste of a match. Honestly, it could have been a SmackDown Women's Championship match with Sasha Banks instead of this, if you ask me.
This wasn't good. Like,
No,
they haven't. I don't understand. Like, I just don't get it. They make this big deal about the women's division all the time. They bring up the women's revolution all the time. But you can't even make the argument of like, oh, well, Becky's not there. Bailey's, like all these different people out. Just Becky's not there. Charlotte is back. Asuka has been the champion and has been dominant since Money in the Bank. Sasha's around. Bailey's around. Multiple women are around, and they didn't even get a chamber match. They didn't get anything.
no.
They got a women's tag team title match that didn't really make sense on why it was happening.
No, you're 100% right. And I like the point that you brought up that they didn't even get a chamber match, because usually it goes back and forth for the last couple of years since they've had a women's chamber match. It has been that a male on one roster gets one and the women on the other roster get the other chamber. So Sasha defending inside the Elimination Chamber makes perfect sense. There's a lot of women to use on SmackDown. Or Asuka, which we'll get to her in just a couple. Like you can get to her now, honestly.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, they cut her match.
Yeah.
They just cut her. They cut her match, and it's so funny because you're telling me that you don't have anybody to fill in that role, which tells me one thing, especially. They're planning on doing Asuka Charlotte at Mania. There's no other way. They're going to do it again. Because if not, why would you not do a Charlotte Flair Asuka match here? Just throw her in. Charlotte Flair is the ultimate, competitor. She flies into title matches all the time. Who cares? Nobody would question it. And then even if you don't want to do Charlotte, there are other women on the roster. Do a fatal 4-way kickoff match like you did with the US belt.
Yeah.
You literally did it in the show.
Yeah. I
just do it again.
I get that the Raw roster of women is not as good as the SmackDown women, but that's not an excuse. At this point, it's just not an excuse. There's a bunch of viable women. They just could have had Asuka beat that they don't really care about. You got Peyton Royce, who's actually buddies with Lacey Evans the last couple of weeks, which would have made perfect sense to have her in this match. Perfect sense. You have Nikki Cross.
And did they not split Peyton Royce and Billie Kay up because allegedly they wanted to do a singles run with Peyton Royce?
Exactly why they did it.
And what's that happened?
Nothing. Literally nothing. You got Lana backstage. Even though Lana's not the best, it would have put a match on the card. You got Mandy Rose. You got Dana Brooke. I guess they're saving Charlotte or Becky for Mania, I'm guessing. But do you have Charlotte?
Yeah.
You can run that, I guess. Call up someone from NXT for one night. Call up Rhea Ripley. Call up somebody. Do something. It's just frustrating. I feel bad for Asuka. She doesn't deserve that.
And they didn't even address it.
No.
They didn't even address it.
No, they
just scrapped it. We literally were sitting there, like, when the last chamber came on, I was like, they're doing this early. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is there another match? There's supposed to be like at least one other match. And I was like, oh yeah, the Asuka match.
Scrapped. Just like that. Scrapped. And the funny part
didn't even not even a little line. Nothing.
Not even
just
Lacey.
Not even Lacey Evans.
She's pregnant.
Yep.
That's simple.
Nope. Nothing. Just didn't even talk about it.
If I might be wrong about this, but I believe on the kickoff show too, they still said the match is still on or something, or Asuka will still be defending her title or something. I guess we're filming this on a Monday before Monday Night Raw, but maybe she's defending it tonight. I don't know. It's frustrating at this point for Asuka. But back to SmackDown, that point you made a little while ago, that They should have had a chamber too. The SmackDown's women's roster is very, very good. Like you have Sasha in there. Sasha can win the chamber. That's fine. You got Bailey. You got Billy Kay. You got Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott. Bunch of women, bunch of really, really good women on SmackDown, and they're just they just put Bianca and Sasha in a tag team and just wasted that. They tried to further that feud and honestly didn't do a good job of furthering that feud either, because they didn't really butt heads or anything after the match. Just, oh, we lost, that's it. And basically that's it. But very frustrating night for the women. Very, very frustrating. But let's move on to our main event, which we were shocked to see at the time because no Asuka match, but men's Elimination Chamber match for the WWE title. You had McIntyre, AJ, Sheamus, Hardy, Kingston, all those guys, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. Like I like that it had like an actual meaning, this chamber match, that it's for the championship. Drew had to defend his championship against 5 other guys and successfully did so. I thought the match was good though. I was very shocked that Sheamus didn't last too long coming in from the last position, and he wasn't even in the final 2. And that's the feud they've been building for like the last couple of months now, and he wasn't even in the final 2. It was AJ and Drew in the final 2. AJ has just been with almost like feuding with other people. Like I don't understand that. Can you make any sense out of that? Because I can't.
No, I really can't. I was really shocked when Sheamus was eliminated before AJ. I was like, oh wait, why is AJ the final 2? And I mean, don't get me wrong, they eliminated AJ literally right after. It was one other move. It was just the Claymore.
A cool Claymore.
But still, no, it felt a little
with a phenomenal forearm.
Yeah. Well, no, and yeah, phenomenal forearm into a Claymore. It was great. I thought the chamber was really good.
Yeah.
But it kind of fell apart when it was like, yeah, we know Drew's gonna win. Like at no point did it really feel like anybody else was going to pull it out.
Yeah.
And then, especially once Sheamus was eliminated and it was just Drew and AJ, I was like, oh yeah, this is over already. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, the match was still very good. It was very, very good. Everyone put on the show. Everyone had to do what they had to do. I liked the part where almost ripped open AJ's pod so AJ can get an early advantage while everybody else was down in the ring. I really liked that moment. But Kofi
didn't get a single elimination off of it.
That did happen. That was funny. But no, Chamber was very good. Made Drew look very, very strong. Which is what we like to see. But then again, I haven't seen this in many chamber matches, but the chamber is getting lifted up right away again. So you knew something was happening once the chamber got lifted up right away again. Everyone's like, oh, Miz is going to come. But no, it was Bobby Lashley. And
I was saying too, I was like, Miz can't cash in yet because Drew's not beaten down enough.
Yeah.
I was like, he's beaten down,
but not enough.
But he's standing. You can't, Miz doesn't hold a chance against him if he's standing. There's no way.
And you were right, because he wasn't beaten down enough until Chamber lifts up and Bobby Lashley comes out. If you recall earlier in the night, it seemed like the Miz and MVP were kind of like making a little deal backstage or something. Like the audio wasn't there. You just saw their mouths moving and them two talking. So something was up since there. So I like that they were called back to that basically. And Bobby Lashley just beat the crap out of Drew. Just all around the ring, around the ring by the announce table, just beat the crap out of him. Basically looked at the ramp. The Miz's music hits. Miz waddles down the ring, cashes in his Money in the Bank. The bell rings. Once the bell rings, they're like, oh, wow, this is going down. We're getting a cash in right here. And Miz cashed in a short amount of time. The Miz, 10 years apart, wins the WWE Championship and is a 2-time WWE champion. Wow. I saw it coming, but at the same time, I didn't see it coming. Like, I was very shocked, surprised, and happy to see this. I really was.
Yeah, no, it felt good. I was one of the people that really, really wanted Miz to have a championship run back when he was doing his IC belt, when he was really headlining SmackDown. Doing fantastic for, it felt forever ago that he was doing that. But no, this is good for him. We know it's a short-term thing, but hey, he's a 2-time WWE champion. He's the first ever double Grand Slam champion.
Yeah, he did the cycle twice.
Or at least the first ever modern day. Yeah, he's completed the cycle twice.
Like completely through
and he
twice.
did.
That's
he
insane.
has like yes, and I mean he did it completely through twice with like 8 Intercontinental Championship reigns.
Yeah. He deserves it. The amount
So
I know people were complaining a lot online, a lot that Drew and that Miz is the champion and all that stuff. But there's a couple pointers to this. Number one, he only had till May to cash in the Money in the Bank because that's when the Money in the Bank briefcase was won and it's eligible for a whole year. So he only had till May. What are you gonna do? Right after WrestleMania in the home stretch of the summer? No, you're not gonna do that. Number two, the Miz deserves it, man. At this point, he's been very loyal to this company, is a very good ambassador for the company, has his own TV show, brings in the views for the company. And just like you said, from like 2016 to 2018, the work he was doing with that IC title was just insane. And he just deserves to have another run. Besides that one little lackluster run in 2010/11 when he won the title then. And 10 years apart is a long time to not have the title. So I'm very happy for him. I'm excited to see where this goes because all fingers are pointing, it looks like, to Lashley eventually take the title from The Miz, potentially on Raw tonight. We don't know. It's before Monday Night on Raw or at the upcoming Fastlane pay-per-view. And it's shaping up to be Lashley and McIntyre at WrestleMania, which is fine by me. How do you feel about Lashley and McIntyre at Mania?
I mean, I like it a lot more than anything else that was being pitched as of right now. My only problem with it is I feel like Lashley kind of deserves better, as opposed to just getting like this one little run that's going to be used to probably put Drew back over. I think Lashley deserves an actual run with the belt at some point. He's proven when booked right, when used correctly, he is a draw that can put on very incredible matches. Maybe not from a technical standpoint, but from a storytelling and just a physical standpoint. Lashley is a very good wrestler that I feel like still, with the Hurt Business has been fantastic, but I would love to see him have an actual main event run. I mean, and as much as I'm saying I like Lashley, there's no way this should headline.
Oh no, I think
this match needs to go on. This match needs to go on when Sasha and Bianca are the main event, I think.
Yeah, I think those are your two main events: Sasha, Bianca, and Edge and Roman. I'm pretty sure SmackDowns are taking night 1 and 2.
SmackDown should take both of them.
I think so too. But no, to your point again, like you said, Lashley, this Hurt Business has been doing wonders for this group. All of them had championships, and a lot of these guys weren't doing much at the time too when they came together. So I was a big fan of the Hurt Business from the beginning. I had faith in them. I wanted them to get all the belts, and it looks like Lashley's going to really get the WWE Championship. It really looks like that's going to happen. Even like I said, it's for a little bit of time. He deserves it too. And like you said, when he's in the right role, dude is money. He's straight up money. He's a top star in this company, and it's cool to see him and Drew, and probably Drew get his moment at WrestleMania, which is expected. But I'm excited. I'm excited for where this goes and when and if Lashley wins the belt.
If Christian is not back, right, like not as a wrestler, Lashley is the last active ECW champion, is he not?
In the company
Big
still?
Show, Van Dam. Yeah, he is.
Wow. I have to look up list of champions. You might be right. Because everyone else is either in another company, usually Impact.
I mean, in a different company or retired.
Wow, you might be right. Let's see. Christians.
Oh, Morrison.
You're right.
But he was as Nitro.
Yeah. Because the rest are Hardy, Mark Henry, Kane's not really with the company either. Chavo, Punk, Morrison, and Lashley. Yeah, they're right by each other. Wow, that's crazy to think about that. Wow, ECW.
It's just
what a
them.
time. What a time. But hey, we have to give our ratings on this pay-per-view before we wrap this up really quickly. I'll say Justin's first because he texted me earlier and he's not here. Justin rated this pay-per-view a 7 out of 10. I thought that was a little generous, if you ask me. I'm gonna give this.
I agree.
I'm gonna give this pay-per-view a 6.
I'm gonna go 5.5.
Wow.
I'm lowering it even more because the lack of any women being on the show, the fact that they cut the Asuka match and don't even talk about it. The Chambers were fine, but in reality, is anybody going to be talking about them in even a year or two?
No,
not really.
No,
they're not very memorable Chambers.
No, they're not.
Overall, it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah, it was. It was fine. Exactly. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. It was average. But our score as a total of all of us combined is 18.5 out of 30, or a 62 out of 100. So our worst rated pay-per-view so far. I can't wait until there's a really, really bad pay-per-view, like from top to bottom, how bad our scores are going to be for that. But hey, that does it for this episode of the Sports Department Podcast. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. Us too appreciate it. Justin, Joe, Steve, appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Follow our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Sports Depth Pod. I'm pretty sure there's another mock draft you guys are working up pretty soon. Baseball episode, basketball, hockey, all the sports. I know they're to break down the National League Central, I think, now this week coming up. And Steve's working on a hockey one, and the basketball one's also in the works. So stay tuned to all that fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode.